Welcome back. Coming up on April 23rd, we are having a Passover Seder supper being held in Kamloops by the Jewish Community Center of Kamloops. Joining me on the show, sitting next to me, Heidi Coleman. In the middle, Glenn Hilke. And on the end, Leanna North. You're a cook with the Jumpstart program, the beneficiary of this fundraiser. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. You and I were discussing this off the air. You said you thought maybe you should open this up to the public and let people know that they're more than welcome to come down to this dinner. But you have to tell us, what is a Passover Seder supper? Because I don't know too much about it.
So Passover is the celebration that Jews around the world celebrate when the biblical story, when the Jews were enslaved, and then the story, you know, it's the 10 Commandments, Charlton Heston. They were slaves in Egypt, and then they were freed and wandering in the desert, and then they get to the land of Israel. And because they were rushing in the desert, because the Egyptians were on their tail, they didn't have time for the bread to rise, so they eat matzah, which is that like a thin wafer. So it has a lot of modern day let's say, metaphors that we can talk about, even, I think, with the Syrians coming to strangers in a new land and talking about freedom and persecution and what is a slave and being different. And so there's a lot of interest there. And also, we talk about how Jesus was having his Last Supper, because Jesus was Jewish. The Last Supper was actually a Passover Seder. So there is that link.
We have a picture of what a typical table would look like at one of these dinners. Quite festive, Heidi.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah,
truly, it
nice.
is.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Now, Glenn Hilke, you are the Jump coordinator in town. Tell us a little bit about what this organization is about.
Sure. Jump is a not-for-profit. It was started back in 2012. So we're just approaching our 12th, 13th, 14th, 5th year of operation. And it started off as a simple community meal on the North Shore, because back then, if you were having difficulty making ends meet, you didn't have to be homeless. In other words, you were just maybe working poor on fixed income. There was nowhere for you to get a meal between Friday lunch at the New Life community to Sunday evening at the pit stop, both on the South Shore, but nothing on the North Shore. So we started that program then. And it has grown into an incredible program. We've never missed a Saturday in all of those years. Plus, we do the holidays when the other agencies are closed: Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, Labor Day. And what's interesting about the program is that even though it started with just a small handful of volunteers, about a year into the program, people that started coming for the meal started asking if they could help. So jump ahead to today. And this has been happening for the last 3 years. It's people in the community themselves that do the entire meal A to Z, to Z. Sorry, I'm from the United States originally.
That's all right. We'll forgive you.
A to Z, and fresh from beginning to end. We don't open up a can, a box, a bag of anything frozen or dry. Everything is home cooked. And we serve on average about 80 people every Saturday.
That's fantastic. So that's where the proceeds of this dinner will be going to. We also have joining us at the end, Leanna North. You are a cook at Jump. You've been doing this for 3 years. What inspires you? What keeps you coming back to help?
Well, I wanted to give back to the neighborhood, and so I decided to volunteer my time to be one of the cooks there. And being raised on a farm, I was taught to cook from homegrown food. My mom was French Catholic and taught us girls how to cook from scratch. And so it was, like Glenn said, everything is cooked from scratch, locally owned from our farmers. And what were given to us, we had to cook a meal. And it was really hard at first, because what we were given, we had to cook a meal on the spot right there. And that was hard to do for 80 to 100 people.
I bet.
And we did it, and they loved it. And so we got more and more people involved. And like Glenn and everybody that volunteers, if you can just spend a day with us and see what we do, and for one day, you'd be amazed what we can do.
I believe it. Quickly, we're almost out of time, but you brought in a couple of things that have some significance.
Right, so this is the Passover Seder plate, and during the meal, there's a lot of symbolic things. So the meal has, we go through the Passover Haggadah, which is the story of Passover, and different people get to read different parts, and we're opening it up to the Jewish and non-Jewish community because they've asked us if they could come, and we have a lot of symbolic things, and there's a lot of little symbolic things that you eat before the main meal. So it's quite interesting, and people are curious to see what we do, and so we're definitely opening it up to everyone, and you just have to call the numbers that you see on the screen if you want to come. And it's a fundraiser this year for the first time.
Which is fantastic, right? So you're having a great community event where people get to learn a little bit more about a community that they don't know a lot about.
Right.
Raise some money for a fantastic organization, which you're both involved in. So win-win, Heidi,
it's a
is what
great
it sounds
idea.
like.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you and Glenn and Leanna for being here today. Again, this is happening on the 23rd, so this is coming up fairly quickly. Information on the screen is taking place at the Anavets building. The phone number as well has already been on the screen, but I'll say it again, 819-5100. If you would like to get some tickets, April 23rd. We're back in 2 minutes. Stay with us.